the heck is that? Where? Oh, wait a minute. Let me guess. No, I don't know. That's got to be Hawaii.
No,
No. Is it the Faroes? No, they don't have trees.
no, no. That would be that would be like a tourist attraction in the
No kidding.
Faroes. They'd
Where
be
am
setting
I?
up barriers and they'd be charging people money to see the tree.
Where is that?
That's the Oregon coast.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. And this is iconic Smoky Mountains, but it's
Smoky
not the
Mountains.
iconic one from Smokies, actually. So it's the other end of the lane is where the iconic one is. This is far less iconic. And that's, and I'm not going to say it's infrared because we discuss we're not going to tell people stuff like that.
We're not even supposed to be talking about where it's at.
That's right. Yeah, we did such a
It
bad.
is hard not to.
Hey,
I
in
mean,
our go ahead.
oh, Brooks talks about that once when you're at a gallery opening, for example, and you meet the artist. What do you say? Uh, and I think that's always interesting.
Yeah.
Where's that at, or what is that, or um,
I have an answer. Yeah, I just thought of my mentor, Nancy Rotenberg. She had just converted to digital. And so, the big thing was, oh, is that a digital print? Is that
yes,
is that a film print? Blah, blah, blah. And her answer would be, do you like it?
yeah, that's awesome. I remember when digital first came out too. That was another question. Was that manipulated?
Yes, of
Yeah,
course. Yeah, but hers was great. Is that
yeah.
Nancy, is that like is that from your digital camera or is that from your film camera? Do you like it?
I really like that
That's a
answer.
great response. Okay, so our last show, we asked people, how do you know you have a good image? How do you know you've created a successful image? And I'm going to let you speak to that first, and then we'll share a couple of images that really goes a little off of what probably your answer is going to be, because I know what your answer is going to be, and mine's going to be the very same one. There's a short answer that's is going to be universal for you and
Sure.
me. So go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you how I used to answer that. It would be
That's
by
instructive. Yeah.
how many likes, how many sales, how many times is it published,
Yeah.
things like that, because I thought the more popular an image was, that equated to the better an image was. But as we all know, as we've talked about, when you submit to a competition and you submit an image that you really love, it often does poorly. If you
Yeah.
submit an image that you don't really love and it does well.
Yeah.
So the short answer today is I love it.
Yeah.
And that's the only measure that's important. What other measure could be as important as what I think of it?
Yeah.
I mean, is there certain people? Well, Brooks liked it, therefore it must be good. Or John, well, no, that's a John.
Yeah. Let's not get crazy.
What other external measure of good or bad or whatever could
Yeah.
be as important as what you think?
There really isn't one. But with that said, I've asked Cole to share an image and be a little bit more wordy than that. And I'm going to ask you, go ahead and get that up, and I'll talk here as you're getting that shared. What I've essentially asked him to do is show a specific image and tell me why he loves this, right? And so, what is it that makes this successful for you, Cole, other than you love it? And I'm hoping this will be instructive to our viewers, because I think what you're going to hear here, and what I'm hoping you're going to hear, we didn't rehearse this, is kind of the vision behind what's driving his love of this image is the vision, and I think you'll hear why here in a second.
Well, first, let me put into context. I'm pulling out of a hotel parking lot. I'm in western Colorado. Spent the night in this podunk hotel,
Uh,
and I'm turning left. I have to look to the right to see if traffic is clear. And I see this giant ravine
ah,
with these power towers at the top and these telephone lines coming down across the ravine. They just had to span the ravine because it was too deep to put in
ah,
towers. And the
okay.
light is early morning reflecting off those lines. Now, if you were to see the before image, you'd see this is a completely
Ah,
different shot. But what I love, because immediately I could see it, it's this image is completely dark with these bright lines shining through it and those towers standing at the top. It's the amount of black, the contrast of the lines, and oh, the cluster of towers. There's something cool about it.
Yeah.
Um, and so I immediately knew absolutely completely what this image would look like.
Yeah.
And then I had to go to work and I had to do a lot of work to transform what the eye saw into what my vision saw. But, I just love this image. So it's successful.
It's one of my absolute favorites of yours. And again, a mass of black. But to me, that's so critical because now I know exactly what caught your eye and what you were trying to express in this photograph. What was the amazing light that you talked about, just bouncing off those power lines. And I have seen the before of this, and there's a whole lot of detail in underneath those lines, tons of detail.
And it's very flat. The image is very flat.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's all, and shooting lines are hard because people don't appreciate it. It's coiled wire. And so what you tend to get is these almost like a dotted power line
yes,
instead of a solid one. So I mean, I did so much work to this, but the thing is, I knew what I wanted. I had the roadmap.
yeah.
So learning some techniques, like learning to turn those coiled wires into solid wires, it's a technique I learned, but I just didn't learn it to have it in my toolbox handy in case I ever needed it. I
Yeah.
learned it because I had a reason to learn it.
And more importantly, you're following Cole's rule of thirds. You're out there, like you said, driving along. You see this out of the corner of your eye, and you say, Cole, I got to get the shot. That's all that mattered. And I'm sorry, I back up. You said, wait a minute, vision. And in your mind, you knew exactly what this is going to be. And then you said, I got to stop the car, turn around, go back and get the shot. And then I'll worry about how to figure it out later.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like we've been talking about in previous episodes. This is a great example of that. Vision drove this whole thing from the second you saw it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good.
And the vision was immediate. I mean, I'm glancing to the right to see if traffic's clear, and I immediately saw it and immediately turned to the right and found a hill that I could shoot
Yeah.
this from.
Yeah. And knew that you're going to make it black so that those wires, power lines would just bounce off that page.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah, good. Well, I'll share if you want to stop sharing. There you go. I'll share one, and it might not be near as exciting as yours, but never is because people always compare. Let me see. Does that look good?
John,
Yes.
comparison is the thief of joy.
I would agree with that.
That's your saying. Well, you borrowed it from Teddy, right? Or,
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt. That's right. But you can see this okay, yeah?
oh, yeah.
Good.
Gorgeous.
So I'm in Ireland, and I'm with a good friend, Peter Cox, and he and I are co-leading a group, and we're staying at a hotel where this lake is. I want to say it's in Killarney, if I remember right, called the Lake House, if I remember right. This is quite a number of years ago. But it was interesting because, well, I'll add in a funny little story too. But Peter has got he's in the newest fad. Speaking of fads in our recent episodes, and he's in the fad of doing time lapse photography. So he's got I think two tripods on it. Nah, maybe one. Well, let's say one tripod with time lapse going in the complete 180 degrees from where this photograph is made. And so he's over there. And quite honestly, because, and this feeds into some of our other discussions we've had in recent shows, why is everybody not looking over here? Well, because the two leaders are photographing over there. And so everybody is following what hey, if the two leaders are photographing 180 degrees from where this is happening, but as I'm prone to do, I start looking around, up and down, around, behind, next to me, right? So and I look behind me and I see this scene. And I'm
Mm.
like, I screamed to everybody. I said, guys, wrong direction. And I start pointing. I was like, over here. I said, are you kidding me? You've got this fog. And what I saw, kind of like your explanation of your image, to me, this image is not even worthy of a shutter depression unless that bonsai tree, I call it, has got fog behind it,
Mm.
separating it from the background. So that tree in the bottom left is to me this what makes this image incredibly successful. Other than the fact that, like Cole, I love this image. It's one of my all-time favorite images. But if I had to add to what makes it successful, it absolutely is the fog that came in and went behind that tree, just changed the whole aesthetic as to how I felt. And so, as I say in some of my lectures, I knew immediately upon making this photograph that it couldn't have color because for me, the color would be distracting
Mm.
from what was actually happening in the photograph. The color didn't add and would not add anything. And if you looked at the raw file, like Cole's discussion, it was reasonably flat. So I had to add contrast by doing some dodging and burning techniques, right? I knew as soon as I tripped the shutter that what I saw on the back of my camera was not going to be anywhere close to what my mind's eye was seeing at, or vision, if you will, was seeing at that time to enhance that fog, to make that tree darker so that there was contrast to where I fell in love with this image and I really loved it.
Well, I love the image. And John, would it take you very long? Could you pull up the before? I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it probably would because I got to remember
Okay.
what it was, but I could do that. But so the postscript, so Peter has his image, and I'll stop sharing this thing because we don't need to keep staring at that. Uh-oh, where did my, well, son of a gun? My other screen went blank here, so I can't see. Oh, there we are. There we go. So I go back. So Peter, has got his one camera, no other tripod, and he's like, "Oh crap! Like I don't want to stop the time lapse." So he says, "Oh," and I said, "Peter, I have another camera." And so I had at that time I was shooting Canon, I think, and I gave him my Canon, and I let it, and he happened to have a second tripod, so he set it up, and he virtually has that same identical photograph.
No.
Yeah, virtually. And he has a gallery. He's a phenomenal gallery in the Killarney area, and he has that for sale. And his is color,
No.
absolutely color. He does not see it as a black and white photograph at all. And quite candidly, and I don't mean no, you know, meanness in this in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't work as a colored photograph
No.
in any way, shape, or form for me.
Well, maybe he didn't feel it was honest work if he were to do exactly what you did.
Well, I'm not sure he had seen mine at that time. I'm not sure
Oh,
I had shared it when, certainly when he
I
took it.
can't imagine that in color. It's just perfect the way it is in black and white.
Yeah, I agree 100% because the color that day, as you might imagine with the cloud cover, was somewhat muted. There was not a lot of color there, and it was really kind of muted greeny in those evergreens. It wasn't this real contrasty image. And for me to be successful, to meet with my vision, I had to go to black and white and I needed to add that contrast to it. So hopefully that discussion, number one, our answer to the question we asked you last episode might be different than yours. We haven't had a chance to read them because we're doing this episode right after we did that one, but we're anxious to see the differing opinions. So
Yeah, good.
thanks for following along.